Woo! Scary spiders, light them up. Woo! Yeah, Halloween's still here, coming pretty fast. Let's see here. So we are working on, what are we working on, guys? What are you working on? Remember to pause me. Try it on your own first. Pause me. So we were finishing on 3.4, number 9. And so we figured out what was wrong there. So now we're jumping over to number 10, number 11. Here we go. Okay, so they give you the graph and they give you the factored form and they want you to come up with a solution. One is greater than 0, and then what about less than 0? So some of you are forgetting, what does that mean? Inequality. What does greater than 0 mean? So if you have greater than 0, like x greater than 0, that means all numbers we want all numbers greater than 0. Okay, so you got to know, is it asking for all positive solutions or all negative solutions? What's greater than 0? Greater than 0 is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we want all positive solutions. So not just one solution, but all positive solutions. And so that means all numbers above the x-axis, right? So all numbers above the x-axis. So first we look and see if it's equal to, because that's open hole, close hole, right? So this one is greater than 0, so not equal to. So that means that in this case, these ones are open hole, open hole, open hole. So we cannot include those numbers. We have to use parentheses, using lots of parentheses. So this problem is going to use parentheses. How do you spell it? Use parentheses. Okay, so we want all positive solutions. So as we go to the left, towards negative infinity, we notice that we are above the x-axis. And then here we're also above the x-axis. Oh, here we're below, here we're below, here we're below, but then here we're above. Whoa! So that's interesting. So we've got a few intervals going on here for above, right? For above the x-axis. So we're going to do negative infinity to this point, -2. So negative infinity to -2. In union with, don't include the 2, so in union with, now we're going to do -2 to this number, which is 0. And then skip, skip, skip. And then that looks like a 5. Does it look like a 5? Looks like a 5. So going along with 5. And so that's going to be 5 to infinity. So that's our solution. So negative infinity to -2 in union with -2 to 0. Those are all above the x-axis. Because greater than 0 means all the positive above the x-axis. In union with, then we're going back up again. And that's 5 to infinity. No brackets, all parentheses. Now part B is going to have brackets. It is going to have brackets. And the reason why is because this has an equal to. And when you ever have an equal to, that means brackets. You can still have a bracket and a parenthesis if there's like, infinity or something. Yeah. Let's see here. So did they bounce right? They did bounce right at -2 and at 3. Cross through a 5 and a 0. Good. So they gave us the graph. That made it a lot easier that they gave us the graph already, right? Okay, so what does less than or equal to 0 mean? So that means that, so less than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 0. So less than or equal to 0, so that means all negative numbers, less than 0. So -3, -2, -1, 0, so that direction. So all negative numbers is what we're looking for. And all negative numbers means you may need to be a little bit more specific. What do you think? All negative numbers means. So it means all numbers below the x-axis, or all negative y values. So where are my x values that have negative y values? All negative y values. So whenever my graph, right, whenever my graph is below the x-axis is what that one means. That's different, not above. It means below the x-axis. Okay, here we go. So we're going to erase for doing this one now. And so now we're just looking for below. Where are we below the x-axis? Uh-oh, including. That means that we are going to include those. Even this one, Mr. Newbold? Well, technically, yes. And the reason why technically yes is because if you plug a -2 in, you will get equal to 0. Right? If you plug a -2 in here, -2 and +2 is 0. 0 squared is just 0. And then 0 times x times all the other stuff is just going to be 0. And 0 is less than or equal to 0. So we do have to include that -2. So and since we're talking about x values only for the solution, x values only, is what we're talking about. We're basically going to be saying from -2 to -2, right? X equals -2, and just staying with x equals -2, basically. In union with, where else are we below the x-axis? At 0, right? We start to go down. So we're negative there. At 3 we hit, still counts. And then we're negative again. And then we're positive after 5. So what does that look like? What does that look like? Well, it's less than or equal to, so that's brackets. So we go bracket 0. So we go bracket 0 to what number? 3, including the 3, because less than or equal to. Because if you plug a 3 in, you get 3 minus 3 is 0, and that zeroes everything out. And 0 is less than or equal to 0. And then in union with 3 is still including the 3 to 5. And to be honest with you, we could actually combine those, and we could say all negative numbers below the x-axis from 0 to 5, because that includes the 3. That includes the 3. So why don't we shorthand notation that and actually just say 0 to 5. Right? Because it technically is 0 to 3 and 3 to 5. But we're going to shorthand notation that because that also includes the 3. And so there's our answer for number 11. Whoa, there's our answer for number 11. So try 12 next. Give 12 a try. Give 12 a try. So number 13, they actually want you to do a number line now. They didn't do the graph. You have to do the graph. For number 13. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster now as far as, I'm not going to set each one equal to 0. I'm just going to assume you know that. Change the sign. So this x minus 3 is actually going to be a x-intercept at a positive 3. And then it has a multiplicity. It has a multiplicity of 3, which means to cross through. Way-o. This one is going to be x equals -1 with a multiplicity of 1, so that's also cross through. But this one has a positive 5. Remember, because you take x minus 5, you set equal to 0, you add 5 to the other side, and x equals 5. So, but it's got a 4 for a multiplicity. And since the multiplicity of 4, or an even, 4 is an even number. Pause me, try it on your own. So multiplicity of 4 is even numbers, so that means we're going to bounce. That means we're going to bounce. Okay, let's graph those. Pause me, you try it on your own. Do the number line. Okay, so we have, what do we have here? We've got a -1. We've got a 0. We've got a positive 3 and a positive 5. Uh-oh, it's less than 0. What does that mean? Open hole or close hole? Less than. No equal to. So that means we're going to have an open hole, open hole, open hole. Good. What's our end behavior? To know if it's up or down, above or below the x-axis, what's our end behavior? And so we take x to the 3rd power times x to the 1st power times x to the 4th power. And then we just go ahead and add those powers. So that's 3 plus 1 plus 4, which is x to the 8th power, which is even. Is it negative or positive in front? Is it negative? No, so we have to assume it's positive. So that's a positive, which means positive x to the even. And what does positive x to the even mean? Is that both up or both down? Even is both. Is it up or down? It's up, positive and even. So that means we're going to draw an up arrow up and to the left and up and to the right. Now where's our y-axis there? Right there? There's our y-intercept and our x-intercept. Good. Cool. So then we're going to, at -1, what are we going to do? We're going to cross through. Right? So we have a negative y-intercept because we cross through there. At 3, what are we going to do? At 3, we're also going to cross through, right? Because at 3, you have a multiplicity of 3. So that's also cross through. Good. And then at 5, what are we going to do? We're going to bounce. So we're going to bounce like that. Okay, so there's our graph. And so they want to know all numbers less than 0. And less than 0 is below. All solutions that are below the x-axis. That's the negative y values, right? Okay, here we go. So from -1, not including the -1, so parentheses, below, below. And so we're going to go from -1 to 3, right? So -1 to 3 is going to be our interval there. Wow, over here we're positive. Down here we're negative. Here we're positive. Here we're positive. But don't I have to include the 5? Well, it's an open hole and it's not equal to, so we don't even mention the 5 on this one. And that's just our answer. Well, that's just our answer. Well. So I'm going to double check just to make sure.